Podcast back again. Steve Mytych, how you doing, brother?
Doing great. Just got done training, hopped in the car, just got back in the PA, pulled up
Back on the
out in
wrong
front of the
side of
house.
the river. Back on the wrong side of the river. But that's okay. We're not going to hold that against you.
My tilts get better when I cross over into PA.
Cross wrist stuff works way better. I don't know what it is.
You got it.
Hey, so for those of the people listening at home or in their car, um, give us a little backstory, man. You and I go back to the gold medal training camp days.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about Steve Mytych growing up wrestling.
Yeah. So I was obviously a Pennsylvania guy from start to finish. In my wrestling career, I was actually born in Jersey. A lot of people don't know that. Somerset Hospital. So,
There you go.
yeah, my mom and dad actually grew up at Manville High School, which is about 5 minutes from Rutgers.
Yeah.
So got a lot of family that have season tickets for football, basketball, and now dragging them into wrestling. But yeah, just grew up in PA, District 2. Once I got into high school, I ended up transferring to Northampton High School, District 11. Before that, I was going to the gold medal camp, Mondays and Wednesdays pretty often. So yeah, just, got myself into this Lehigh Valley area and I got myself back. So, we live in Hellertown, PA, which is, the Saucon Valley School District. My high school coach, Don Roan, is the assistant coach at Saucon Valley. So that had a lot to do with why we hunkered down right here. I hop right on 78 to 287. I'm at Rutgers, so I'm able to get the best of both worlds, for myself and for my son, being, he's 12 years old and kind of hitting the circuit pretty hard right now. So, yeah, it's going good. It's all good.
Yeah. So and I talked to Goody about this. You are as entrenched in, especially Lehigh Valley, but PA wrestling as it kind of comes. And one of the things that they've tried over the last few years to do is really create a foothold, not just in Jersey, but in the Northeast. And what do you think is going to, what is it going to take to get, and I don't think it's going to be much, if I'm going to be honest. What do you think it's going to take to create a pipeline between the D11 kids and Rutgers University? Because, like, let's be honest, there's not a ton of options. Look, Lehigh is wonderful, right? Like, don't get me
Yep.
wrong, but it's also 80 grand to go. Like,
Yeah.
it's like
Not
it's
cheap.
not cheap, And so, like, what is it going to take to get that Lehigh Valley kid to consider Rutgers as a first option?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's slowly starting to happen right now. Aiden Smith is coming next year. He's, he's been involved with the Dark Knights. Now he's over at Steel Valley. Just having those connections. My son's coach before we moved was Van Dobish, who ran the Dark Knights with Whitey Klebo. So, I talk to Van pretty often. He's got his networks through the country that, just building those relationships really. We have another kid who's committed who just won a PA state title. He's a junior, so I can't legally say his name or talk about him. But again, he's part of that club, part of that
Yeah.
District 11 Dark Knights. And it's just starting to grow right now. I believe Rutgers is a sleeping giant. I think if we start really using our connections, and we are right now, we're out in California, we're all throughout Pennsylvania. I actually even found a kid at NHSCA's last year. His name's Nate Blanchett. Not many people know about him. He's a hammer. He's coming next year. And that's from the New England area. being that I coached at Bloomsburg and I coached at Binghamton University, I was kind of into that Northeast region,
Hmm.
so I was able to make a lot of connections with those guys. So I think it's just really building the relationships with the kids and really more importantly, the club coaches throughout the area.
Yeah.
Um, my son goes to Grit Mat Club, it's called, but on any given night, I'm jumping over to Steel Valley. I'm jumping over here. I'm jumping over there. So I'm not really tied to one. My son is, but being a college coach and being able to mingle with these guys it's honestly really paying off. Really paying
Yeah.
off.
We gotta get guys on the podium, and you're starting to do that on a consistent basis. The kid Shaver breaks through this year, has a Big
Yep.
Ten championship. That's a solid thing. But I think the expectations, especially in PA, are just way high. They
Yep.
just are. And so forgive me if I'm being um a little crazy here, but like who do you have? And again, I know you can't talk about every kid that's committed to Rutgers, but like some of the kids that you can talk about, tell me who I should be most excited for coming through the Rutgers pipeline. Do we? Because I talk to Papalizio about this all the time. They've brought home some trophies in the last few years, and I said, Pat, there's a big difference between being fourth place and being first place. Like because
Hmm.
that's a big jump. And I said, what does that jump look like? He's like, I got to get freshmen to get on the podium, not just guys on the podium. No. We need kids that are ready to go ASAP. So tell me who I should be most excited about that's going to be wearing a Scarlet Knights uniform.
Yeah, I think coming in, I think a kid Connor Hare. He's kind of the total package. He can wrestle on his feet. He gets off a bottom. He can ride on top. A lot of these PA guys, I think that's what separates them from kind of the rest of the country is being able to kind of be that mat rat when you need to be. Even if it's surviving in a scramble just to get a stalemate.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Connor can do that. He was winning, I believe, 10-0 in the Pittsburgh Wrestling Classic, kind of hit a wall a little bit. He's ultra talented. I mean, the kid he wrestled, I believe, is ranked second in the country. And he was just reattacking him, moving him, riding him, turned him on top, got off a bottom. The other things we can work on with him, but I think he's ready to go. I think he's going to make a splash. I also think Aiden Smith too. Him and Peterson will be a great complement for each other. Aiden reminds me of Darian Cruz when I was
Mm-hmm.
at Lehigh. Everyone tells me, oh, he's small, he's undersized. They said the same thing about Darian. Well, he's a true freshman All-American. He's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually was a national champion. So it's more about the match management, the savviness, how to wear a guy out, how to attack, when to attack, and really being coachable too. That's what separated Darian from everybody else, in my opinion, is he was able to execute a game plan to the T.
Yeah.
And being around Aiden, he can do that. He's very good, very good. So we're in a good spot right now. I would say those are the two guys that I'm pretty confident that could come in and make an immediate impact without a red shirt per se.
Talk to me now. That's like the nuts and bolts, but there's like some things that you walked into at Rutgers that are awesome, and Jersey Mike's is one of them, right? Like especially coming from Binghamton and from Bloom, something tells
Yeah,
me you ain't putting 8,000 asses in seats.
no,
So tell me what it's like walking into that type of atmosphere for the first time.
it is electric. I'll be honest, it is electric. When we have recruits and families come to those home matches, they are blown away. The first home match, my wife and my kids came, and my wife's like, "Your son is going to Rutgers. He is going to wrestle in front of this crowd." And I'm like, "He will. He will." So I think that they're very passionate. Um, when we win and when we lose.
Sure.
So, and that's
Oh,
just,
dude, they get on me. Mytych. They see me with a camera in my hand, and Joel, we're gonna go one time. I swear, you and I will go to a Rutgers match. They heckle me so bad. It's hilarious. It's hilarious. But they are passionate, man.
they are. And I get it. Hey, we want it to be almost like a professional sports team. So you have to take the good with the bad, and that's just part of it. They want to win. We certainly want to win. I mean, that's what we're doing this for. Obviously, all the intangibles, building young men and everything. But at the end of the day, you need to get your hand raised. It is what it is.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about those intangibles because you got one of my. Well, I'm not, I won't influence your decision. Who do you learn from the most on that staff every day?
Oh wow, that's a tough question. Just because we all are very different and similar at the same time. I mean, if we're gonna talk from an on the mat um, technique standpoint, Pritzloff's the man. He
Mm.
is the man, and I think he could still scrap on the senior level.
There's
He'll
no
never
question
admit
about
it or
there's
anything, but
no question about that. People
yeah,
don't understand what an absolute killer that guy is.
he still is too. He watching him and Sebastian train is really fun. He can still shoot and score when he wants to. I asked him.
Unbelievable.
He says I get to the leg when I want to. I can get to the leg when I want to. I
That
love
seems
that.
like a nice thing to say.
Yeah, but also too, Coach Pollard's really good with the guys. He's really on top of them. He has a great connection. He's always in the room. He loves it. He's actually driving back from Florida right now. He'll be in his flight got canceled. He hopped in the car. He's driving back home. He'll be in the room tomorrow, no doubt.
Stud.
And then obviously Goody is he brings the juice
Mm.
every day. It is fun being around him. So fundraising, recruiting, keeping the band together, just staying on top of everything academically, nutritionally. It's a great staff. I think
It's a
you
great
know
staff.
I think we all give something different, which is unique about it.
Yeah.
I think we all give a different piece. That maybe one of them, we all can't do the same thing. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So, when we come together at the conference table, it's really good conversations we have. I'm kind of more of I'm the recruiter connection guy. I just,
Mm.
Goody's like, hey, do you know this guy? Like, yeah, I know his club coach. I'll give him a call.
Yeah.
So he's like, how do you know this guy? I'm like, well, I met him in 2015 running a clinic at Ken Shirtow's or
Yeah.
something, So yeah, I just think we all come together and we have a great staff for sure.
So it's funny, man. We've referenced Kenny 3 times already on this podcast. And what's funny is like I think we all knew. We all knew that we were working those camps for the relationships that we built because it certainly wasn't for the money.
Uh-huh.
It certainly wasn't for the cash involved. But I have I'm talking to you right now. I have lasting relationships that have served me very well
Mm-hmm.
because of those camp systems. So if you could impart on young coaches a way to create, now Kenny doesn't do as many or maybe he does, I don't know, but a way to get those connections across the country, how would you, because it doesn't have to do exactly what we did and travel around the
Right.
country, how would you tell them to do it in 2024?
Wow. I think wow, social media now is just huge. It's very easy to say follow a recruit on Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, message him that way. Hey, what's your phone number? So then you could call. So it's definitely a lot easier now, I think, to like get to point A instead of having to kind of zigzag your way to get there. So I do think, that has changed. I would say to get yourself out there a little more, it really is, in my opinion, the only way is the way we did it.
Mm.
Really, really having a camp schedule, a clinic schedule, being able to travel, and kind of, getting off your butt, not being lazy. I remember driving out to Oklahoma, driving out down to Florida, Georgia, South, just getting myself out there. And I didn't have to do any of that. That was kind of what you were supposed to do. That's kind of all I knew. So, if I'm a young coach and I'm trying to make those kinds of connections, I think you need to get yourself out there for sure.
Yeah, I remember when Goody first got the job at Rutgers, and this is not an exaggeration. He did at least one night in every single wrestling club in New Jersey. Every single
Yep.
one. Like
Mm-hmm.
the one, like 10 kids, no problem. I'll be there.
Yep.
200 kids, I'll be there tomorrow. Right?
Yep.
Like it getting yourself in front of these kids is really, really important. Who do you think is doing it the best? Because it ain't Kale. Like, let's be honest, right? Like, it ain't Kale. Who out there is doing it the best?
I mean, it's hard. I mean, I think Ohio State does a pretty good job. They brought in a lot of them young kids that were ready to go.
Yeah,
Rocco Welsh,
yeah.
Pennsylvania,
Jesse,
of
yeah.
course, ready to go. I think they did a really good job. I think I'm in a unique situation, being that my son is on the circuit.
Mm,
So I'm out in Tulsa with him. So I've made tons of connections with California, Arizona.
mm,
Um, you know, being all over, the youth tournaments with him,
mm,
whether it's the PA States, qualifiers, freestyle. I'm the head coach now for the 14U Pennsylvania freestyle Greco team, kind of known as the schoolboy team.
right, right, right.
So I'll be running a week camp for those kids, and I actually did it last year also too. So it's about building those connections, and
Mm.
I would, if I had to pick a school, I think Ohio State's done pretty well.
He does a good
Um,
job. Tom Ryan
yeah,
still goes out
yeah,
there and breaks down. Like, I know he's known as like the CEO guy, and
yeah,
that's true. He's very good at that. But he does still
yeah.
break down in the stance, and he does still like bang heads a little bit too, which is kind of cool to see, because I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but I don't think Rob Cole's scrapping anymore. He's like the
No,
other
probably
guy.
not.
I could be wrong. I
Probably
don't
not.
know.
Tom Ryan shows up in the three-quarter spandex tights, and he's ready to
Yeah, he
go.
does. He does
He
do
does
that a
do
lot.
that. He does
He-
do that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
rocking the hell out of those leggings. All right. Hey, so let's shift gears to parenting.
Yep.
I'm gonna put this politely. One of the nice parts about having done that camp circuit when we were younger was we got to see what not to do as a parent.
Yeah.
There was a lot of that. So what before we get to the nightmare stories, what were some of the things that you picked up, you know, around the country that you were like, I ain't doing that as a dad?
Yep. Yeah. So the number one thing I do is, once we get into the car, I stop talking about wrestling. It's
Mm,
over. I feel like a lot of careers are ruined on the car ride home, where you kind of have the kid trapped and you can yell at him and berate him and, kind of go get on him hard. I know it used to happen to me on the car ride home. So
sure, sure, sure.
I, I try to, that's the one thing I tell parents when they ask me, hey, obviously your kid's pretty good. Where do you get on him? I get on him in the practice room, I'll be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
But the car ride home, we don't need to walk into the house miserable and bring that home to mom and little sister, I just try to, hey, put the smile on. We walk in, shower, eat, it's over with. So,
Mitch,
I think
I got one for you. This is so good. Joel Shaw, you might want to start clipping this now, okay? Because this might get a little bit F-bomby. Okay. And you're gonna love this because we have a very similar situation. You do not bring it to the car. You do not, and you certainly do not bring it to the dinner table. Like that is an absolute no.
Yep.
Can't do it. There was this one night, this was back when we were in Texas. Okay. This was one night. And like I'm telling you, he couldn't buy a point. He couldn't buy a point, Mitch. He could, and he's going in a group of 3. And again, he's in 6th grade, right? But he couldn't buy a point if it was on clearance. Okay. He's in a group of 3 with a girl and a kid that he usually thumps. Okay. And he couldn't buy a point. And I'm literally like, I'm chomping down on my mouthpiece the entire time. And my wife was at this practice. We get into the car, okay? And she goes, don't say anything to him. She's like, don't say anything to him. Don't say anything to him. I said, all right, fine, whatever. You know what? You're right. You're 100% right. I know I want to kill him. I know but I'm going to shut my mouth. This son of a bitch gets in the car, slams the door behind himself, claps his hands and goes, I think I had a pretty good practice. And I'm like, like I was shaking. And my wife looks at me and she's like, oh no, oh no, oh no. But I didn't say a word. The next night, literally the very next night, he had a try meet. Quad, actually. So he had 3 matches. He goes out there and texts and pins everyone. Now, they weren't very good wrestlers, but that's irrelevant. I always go back and think to myself, what if I would have kicked his ass verbally verbally, everyone, don't get on me, relax. What if I would have laid into him on the car ride? I don't know that he has that type of performance the next day because he gives himself a little bit of an out. Dude, I'm telling you, I was shaking. I was literally shaking. But yeah, that's the type of shit that like that didn't exist when we were kids, man. And you're younger than I am, but it didn't exist. Like car rides home were not fun. And I didn't have it too much because my dad didn't know anything about wrestling. But I can remember being in a car with buddies' dads and they were lay into them.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So if we agree now that don't bring it to the car, what other things can we tell young dads when they're getting into coaching about raising a successful athlete?
Yeah, I mean, I would say lock into one club, and not kind of jump around too much. I think it's important if you can build a little family around you, and then everyone kind of gets onto that same path and same goals and same kind of the same mentality. And I think we've been really fortunate to have that situation. I think a little bit also has to do with, myself running private lessons and clinics and kind of creating that situation a little bit.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that other dads can't create that as well.
That's true. That's
right.
True.
Like you don't have to do private. You don't have to be a Division I college coach to create that type of environment around the kid, right? Like it can it can happen, right? Like
Yeah.
Joel's doing it up north in California, right? Like Joel's helping out with a club, and they're like, he's building everything around it. That's the most impressive thing to me about what Joel's doing up there is like everybody wants to be the guy teaching high crotches,
Right.
but there's so much more to running a successful wrestling club that aren't the sexiest part of the sport, right? Like
Yep.
back end management, right? Like wrestling IQ stuff, but like that has to happen. That has to
Right.
happen. And the planning of trips. Well, that's a big part of building that type of environment, that community that you're talking about, right?
Yep.
Because look, you could everybody do their own thing. Yeah, we're going to this. Make sure you know, or we can all make sure that we're going in the same direction. We're going in the
Yep.
same hotel, or we're staying at this Airbnb, and we're like, that's a big deal, man. Like
It is. It
we
really
can
is.
make that work for people, right?
Yes.
And lots of times I feel like people forget too, we're around all of our buddies who've all wrestled their whole lives. And we forget that maybe some of the kids that are doing this, it's like their second year wrestling, and parents are like,
Right.
I got no idea what's going on. Like, what happens over there rolling around? I have no idea how points are scored. And now I got to figure out a hotel that I'm supposed to stay at.
True.
And there's so many moving pieces that I think that we often forget when we're in the midst of coaching. Or I don't have any kids, but I'm sure raising
Yep.
kids is also similar.
Yeah. We're right now at Saucon Valley. We're doing this. We're pretty much kind of doing the same thing you are, starting from the ground up. So what we're doing is we have Saucon Valley High School. Then we made it's called Panther Elite. And then, because they're the Saucon Valley Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the Grit Mat Club.
Mm-hmm.
So for the Grit Mat Club, that's like, the NHSCA duels, because you could build a gold team. You can do this. But the Panther Elite, we go to the little rinky-dink, dual tournament they have here, but we wrestle with our team. Mm-hmm. All the kids from Saucon Valley, from, the youth, the middle school to the high school. And actually, in my opinion, the people who really stapled that was the Bassett.
Mm.
So when they were at Forest Hills, they had the Ranger Pride Wrestling Club, and then they had the Young Guns Wrestling Club.
Mm.
So the Ranger Pride would be all their guys, all their high school guys, obviously before they went to McCourt. Mm. But that was their kind of plan, and it worked. It worked. I mean, I know they ended up going to Bishop McCourt, but that kind of core, kind of moved with them.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the mold, and we're pretty much copying that right now. And we did an open room yesterday from 4 to 5 o'clock for Saucon Valley wrestlers only. We had about 30 kids show up. It was awesome. So, and I believe it was only the second Wednesday. We do it every Wednesday from 4 to 5, just to get everybody together just for that one day. So it's on the right track. It's moving forward.
Yeah,
so,
no, that's a good thing.
Yep.
Tell me about some other nightmare stories that you may have seen on the road with parenting that we can't have happen again, man.
Yeah, I've seen, well, it's actually a kid around us, so it is what it is. But so when he loses, he likes to hit his mom and dad.
Mm.
So he's obviously a little guy, and I actually held him down. I had a double bar, and I threw the boots in, and I held him there, and he's kind of raging out, and we're super close with the parents, so it's all just learning, it's all learning experiences. But so yeah, like stuff like that, it's like you got to nip that in the bud right then and there. It is not your mom and dad's fault you lost. It is your fault you lost. You didn't score enough points. Not your mom and dad sitting in the stands. So I know, little story. My son, he was, I believe, 8 years old, wrestled in the state finals, beat the kid 4-2. We picked top in the third period. We turned him twice. Kid was a little bit of a weight cutter. So he wins the state final. Month later, we go to a tournament. We wrestle the same kid, and he just pounds my kid bad. 10-1 maybe.
Yeah.
Couldn't even budge him. Couldn't even move him. So the match is over. He throws the headgear like viciously.
Your son does.
Yep. So I grab him by the straps of the singlet, and I pick him right up against the wall. And I get nose to nose. And I'm like, you will never do that again. You know, I'm sure it was a little more animated and a little more deep with my language. Right. But I will say this, you know, my wife and my mom and dad and my wife, and she's like, people are looking at you. And I'm like, good. Everybody should take this lesson and do it to their own kids. He's never thrown his headgear ever again since that day. Yeah. So however you want to look at it, you know, bad, good, or whatever, it worked. But it got nipped in the bud. First time, done. So
we don't do that. No, and
you know,
it's the same. I have had this conversation quite the same thing. A very similar conversation with my son. Like, hey, nope, not a chance.
Yeah.
We don't. And I've had it with other kids, like not my son. Same thing. Like, and you see guys like DC catching shit online for I think everyone kind of saw that clip of him grabbing a kid by the neck.
I love it. It's a great job. My opinion.
You kind of gotta do that because that's what the moment calls for. We're not going to physically assault a kid, and neither did DC, right?
Right.
He grabbed the kid and pushed him in the right direction, and that kid is probably better for it. Now,
100%.
Now, are there people, especially out west here, that would disagree with me? Yeah, probably. But I think that there is a time, place, and degree at which that stuff is really, really important. Because if not, we go down the path of a kid hitting his parents. And that's not
exactly.
That's
and the longer you let it go on and the longer it's okay, it's just going to continue to happen, you know?
Right.
So
yeah, not good. Okay. Let's kind of turn towards how are you balancing a Division I schedule and a national 12-year-old schedule? Because those are very similar schedules. Like, it's not easy, man. Like, it's very similar.
Yes. So my wife is a huge piece to that puzzle. She's a Northampton girl. We met when I moved there in high school. So we've been together 18 years. Jeez. So she's seen the good, the bad, the ugly. She travels with them out to Tulsa. She takes them all over. So she's really into it, and she knows what she's talking about. All the kids are like, we want her in our corner. I'm like, no way, no way. But I mean, it's that is the one good thing about having like flow wrestling and track wrestling is that I'm able to kind of watch it. I watched his state quarterfinals at 8 a.m. Sunday morning in Kansas City on the flow. He actually hit a flying squirrel to win the match.
Oh.
Yeah, it was sick. I'll send you that one day. It's pretty cool. So then we charter. So we show up at the little terminal. You know, you just pull up, you get on. Well, I noticed Pitt is chartering at the same time we are. I'm pretty cool. Keith Gavin, we grew up together. Headley and I were at Lehigh Valley Athletic Club together. So I just asked him, I said, hey, do you have an extra seat on your plane? I'm going to hop on the flight. He's like, you know, talk to the AD. If she's cool with it, it's all good. She said, let's go. So I hop on their charter. I fly with them to Pitt. I Uber right to the Peterson Center. I show up an hour before my kid's state final. So
That's
didn't tell anybody.
Awesome.
I didn't tell anybody I was coming. My wife starts crying. My kid's like, let's go.
Yeah.
So I walked down. Yeah, it was really cool. I owe Pitt, you know, tip the cap to them. That was pretty cool and awesome of them to let me get there, and then he won, so I got to see him, be a state champ, which was really cool. So,
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah,
That is so
yeah.
cool.
So I find my ways to get there when I can. I do. I love it. He works hard. He's disciplined. I really can't ask, for any more of it. And he's doing it on his own a lot, just because, I'm on the road recruiting. I'm doing clinics, and I drag him with me. I took him out to the Dapper Dan or the Pittsburgh Wrestling Classic with me last weekend, and he was able to be around those high level kids, and so he enjoys it. He has a good time. So
You're the best. All right,
yeah,
we're gonna start bringing
yeah.
this thing home. What do you
I was
got there,
gonna
Joel?
say, like, I like how he says, "Oh, I drag him along." Like your son is not super stoked to have, like the best seats in the house to go watch the.
I know him and Bassett are really close, actually. So he's actually kind of like a mentor for Stevie J. And then when I coached Keegan on the 14U team last year, my son and Keegan became like really close friends. So good relationship with the Bassett family. It's good stuff.
Yeah, they're good kids, man.
Yeah,
All right, and by the way, I love that you still call it Dapper Dan, because it's always gonna be Dapper Dan. Period. The end.
it's the Dapper Dan.
It's a Dapper Dan.
It is what it is.
I don't know why. I don't know why that's such a better name than Pittsburgh Wrestling Classic, but it just is. So
Yep.
we'll leave it there. Okay. Couple quick ones.
Yep.
What's the best wrestling shoe of all time?
I gotta go with the old Rulon Gardeners.
Nice, dude.
Black and gold.
Yeah, dude, we've literally had the exact same shoe, same colorway, talked about
I
on
wore
this
those,
podcast.
yeah.
Those are great shoes, man. They
Yeah.
really are. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Rule is it's a magic wand. You can change one thing in the sport of wrestling tomorrow. What would it be?
Ooh. Step out point.
Yes, in folk style. Yes, 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 yes. It takes away all the ambiguity.
Well, you don't have to. Is he pushing him out of bounds? Is he hooking him out of bounds? Is he shooting him out of bounds? It's just, I think there's so many rules in college wrestling right now that the referees, they struggle a little bit, and
Sure.
I can't blame them.
No.
They're counting here, they're counting there. There's the side headlock. Guy goes slide by and gets the Merkle for the takedown, and you start counting for stalling. Like that's
Side headlock. Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah,
I never thought about that.
Yeah, it's unreal to me. But yeah, I think the 1 point push out solves it all.
Yeah, that helps. It certainly doesn't. It takes all the black and white and doesn't make any gray. I like it. Okay.
Yep.
Got to be American. Only get 4. Who is on your Mount Rushmore of wrestling?
Wow. One that really pops out to me, I gotta go Bruce Baumgartner.
Okay.
The big man.
Jersey. Go ahead.
I gotta go John Smith.
Okay, JW.
Just because I like the way he wrestled. He shot a lot.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go with. Wow. There's some really good ones. Oh, wow. Dave Schultz.
Okay.
Automatic.
All right.
And I'm going to go with. I got to go a little new blood. We got to get a little new blood up there. I'm going to go with David Taylor just because I think. Just because I think he's the total package.
He's might go down, dude. He might go down as the greatest. Like the more I'm looking at it, like just the things that he's done, the people that he's beaten, the amount of time that he's been able to do it at, lights out, dude. Lights out. He might go down as one of the greatest ever.
Yeah,
ever.
I agree. And his style of wrestling is he's picking you, so it's not he's not trying to wrestle you with. Trying to overpower you with hooks, or he's actually just out wrestling you, period,
I think he is everything that Kale would have been if he kept going. Truly. You know, I mean,
I could
he's
agree with
amazing.
that. I could agree with that.
You know, like Kale had the ability to be one of the greatest of all time. There's no money in this when he was doing it. And I can't argue with him being a great head coach. So yeah, I 100% agree. All right, awesome. Mytych, people want to get a hold of you on Instagram or wherever. How do they do that?
Yeah, I believe I think I change it all the time. So
Okay.
it's probably like S Mytych RU.
Mhm.
That's my Twitter. I think my Instagram used to be Stutter Pool,
Yeah.
just because I'm always yelling Stutter Pool. Yeah, and obviously on Facebook, just my name. So
Okay.
I'm pretty active on social media. I'm always sharing stuff. You know, no matter what the technique is or the level or the age, I think it's interesting how good these young guys are coming in.
Mhm.
So if there's something I can pick off of them, hey, that's just being a student of the sport, you know. So it's all good.
I ain't above it. No, I heard that. Mytych, thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you.
Yeah, you're the man. Thank you.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon.
Welcome to the Athletor Podcast. What do you want to know with the top guest? Mike now with the project. What you want to know, man? What you want to know? Welcome to the Athletor Podcast. What do you want to know with the top guest? Mike now with the project. What you want to know, man? Welcome to the show.